So Moana 2 has come out. I got a chance to check it out in theaters, so now it's time to talk about it. And just as a heads up, this is a half spoiler-free, half spoiler review, and I will let you guys know with abundant warning when we get to spoiler territory. But in this first part, if it's in the trailers, I count it okay. If it's not in the trailers, it all goes into spoiler territory. Moana 2 picks up about 3 years after the first film left off. Moana is now a wayfinder. She's out there searching for other islands and has not been able to contact any, and then gets a call from the ancestors to try to connect the different islands together, but in order to do that, they have to get to one island that is shrouded in a big curse. Moana 2 had a lot against it, in the fact that John Musker and Ron Clements did not come back to direct. Lin-Manuel Miranda did not come back to do the music. Instead, we have Barlow and Bear, and the knowledge that this was not supposed to be a movie. Moana was supposed to be getting her own series on Disney+, but somewhere down the line, they decided to turn it into a feature animated film, which sometimes doesn't translate great. So going into this film had a lot of barriers it had to overcome, but now that I've seen it, I can now confidently say, I think the film is good enough. It's not great, it's not amazing, but I don't think it's terrible either. It's good enough that I left the theater entertained and happy enough. It definitely feels like it's missing a spark that the first movie had. Really, the big thing with this film is that it lacks a lot of emotional resonance that the first movie had. The first movie, you felt like you understood where Moana was coming from. She had these conflicts with her dad. She felt this call of the ocean that nobody in her village was understanding. She had to deal with Maui, who was having some issues with himself, who also didn't believe in Moana. You had these emotional moments that really resonated. This movie has almost none of that. In some ways, I respect what they were doing here and the fact that Moana has grown. The village is now cool with wayfinding, and her dad is really cool with it now. And I give them credit that they didn't just retcon everything the first movie did so that they could do the identical thing emotionally all over again, which is an easy trap that sequels fall into. But they also didn't replace it with much new in that regard. There's very little emotional turmoil from any of the characters, really. I kind of feel like they got everything worked out in the first movie and they're all kind of chill now. It would have been nicer to give new struggles and new problems, and I will give credit that they did give one to Moana. I don't think they really executed it well, but at least they tried. Like, they have her worried about, what she's leaving behind. She has a younger sister. She has her family. She has her village, and she's worried about losing them, which is a valid fear. And they have a big song. They have the song Beyond about her internal struggle with it. But then the rest of the movie doesn't really follow through with it. Like, they bring it up here and there, but they're all treated very lightly and almost like jokish from time to time. And then when she has a big emotional moment about it, it's over almost as soon as it begins. It didn't feel as resonant as I really wanted it to be, But yeah, the fact that it was originally a Disney Plus series and then got transferred into film, you can definitely tell. Like, for example, you see in the trailers that Moana has a new crew. It's these 3 people. I don't remember all their names. I'm pretty sure the big dude here is Moni, and then there is the clever girl, I don't remember her name, and then the old dude. And I don't want to say that they're totally pointless, because there are some plot points that they are involved in, but I also can't say that their relevance really warrants how much screen time they get. Like, they're okay. I don't think they're awful. I will admit, the girl and Moni were about this close to be getting on my really annoying radar because of how fast they talk. Every time she comes on screen, it's just once or twice, it's cute. Once or twice, it's funny. Every single time she shows up, it's like, slow down! And kind of the same thing with Moni. He's like a one-note character with one joke that I really didn't think was that funny, but it's harmless. But quit talking so fast! But in all honesty, they weren't that bad. They were easy to look past. They didn't get too much screen time to where they were a big problem, but they didn't get enough to make me care about him either. However, when I left the theater, I went with my nieces and they couldn't stop raving about the clever girl. They thought she was like the best part and they loved her. So this might just be me being old and not understanding why this is funny. But I thought the old dude was fine. I actually kind of liked him. But yeah, you could definitely tell they were going to be a bigger thing in the series. They probably each were going to have their own episode where they grew and they learned. But yeah, for what they were fine. Maui was fun, but now I get why they didn't bring Pua along with Hey Hey in the first movie. Pua barely was there. Had a couple funny jokes though. And as for the songs, I thought they were handled well. Definitely not as good as Lin-Manuel Miranda. Come on, you're following Lin-Manuel Miranda for crying out loud. And I feel for Barlow and Bear. I really do, because I don't know for sure. I was not part of the production on this, but I could guarantee anything that they were hired on to make songs for the series. So a lot less pressure there. And then when it got turned into a movie, I'm sure this was pretty late into production and they didn't have a lot of time. And now they realize that they have to be at Lin-Manuel Miranda status and truncate this story using music. That could not have been an easy task. And for a task as difficult as that, I thought they handled it well. I did like Beyond. And I like most of Maui's song, Can I Get a Chee-Hoo? There were a couple lines in Chee-Hoo that were odd as far as rhythm goes that just felt really weird to me. But other than that, I liked it. Beyond I thought was really good, but none of the other songs really caught my attention or resonated with me. As much as it didn't have a good emotional core, it was a really fun adventure. I found myself getting into the adventure elements. I really enjoyed seeing the new locations. I enjoyed the seafaring. I enjoyed all of that. So there was a lot to appreciate there. I just think it would have been a lot better and a lot stronger if you could have introduced more emotional arcs and emotional moments that really could make this movie sing and be something extra special. So if you go in just looking for a grand adventure, I think you're gonna have a good time. But based on how well it did at the box office just on opening weekend, good night. It's almost guaranteed they're gonna make Moana 3. Save for the credits. I didn't, I just had to find the scene later on YouTube. So watch it in theater. I'm sure it was a lot better than what I saw. So yeah, if you're a giant fan of Moana and just wanna see more Moana, you're gonna have a good time. But if you weren't really sold on the first movie, this one I don't think is gonna win you over. All right, so now we're about to enter spoiler territory. You have been warned. We're gonna talk about some spoilery things. So let's get into it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I think the best new character that they added to this movie is that Kakamora. That was a really cool idea, having the Kakamora be a big deal in the first movie and then kind of have a redemption arc in the second movie. That was really fun to see, although the blobfish monster was a little weird and didn't feel like it fit the rest of Moana, but I can look past that. And what's the deal with the bat lady? She felt really superfluous. I don't know, maybe they're just setting her up for the third movie, as you saw in the end credits with her talking with the rain god. I'm sorry, I only saw it once. I don't remember everybody's name. Boo! She was by far the most pointless element to me. I enjoyed the clamshell. I enjoyed hanging out in there. I thought she was not a bad character, but I kind of can't get a read on her, and maybe you weren't supposed to. Maybe this character will pay off more in the third movie, but as she stands right now, she was probably one of the weaker elements to me. I thought she was more fun than like all of Moana's crew, but she served less of a purpose even than they did, in my opinion. So I liked having her around, but kind of wanted her to validate her existence in the movie more. Yeah, and going back to the emotional core with Moana, with her whole fear about losing her village and everything, like, I liked that they showed how Moana could like draw stuff in the ocean and then her sister would see it. That was really cool to tie those two together. I liked seeing that. And then seeing that she was worried about her sister while she was in the clam, and they have like that moment where she starts turning into a bat. I could see that they were trying to, you know, bring more attention to that. But then when she has her breakdown with Maui, I feel like all Maui does is just say, hey, buck up. Let's go do this thing. And she's just totally fine. Where's the moment where she sits down and really lets that sink in with her? Where's that moment where she's just distraught over what she's feeling and she can't get over it and she needs everyone to help her? Like, she has a moment where she needs people to help her, but I feel like all she does is like, this is tough and someone almost died. Just buck up. All right, we're good. That's what it felt like, you know? I want a little bit more. Maybe create some tension between Moana and the rest of the crew. Nothing super bad, but just enough to make it so that they aren't fully competent and totally cool with everything wayfinding related in one song as soon as they start their journey. Maybe whenever they run into Maui in the clamshell, like they've reached an impasse and they're like at each other's throats and don't really know the best way forward, and it's because Maui gets involved that he helps them all see the way forward and working together, and them working together against the storm god is what brings that emotional tension down, and also is raising it up for Moana to deal with her internal struggles, because her big thing is not dying and being there for her family and her tribe. I don't know, maybe that's me thinking too hard about it, but yeah, it feels like at its core, the way it was designed, it wasn't designed to be an emotional story. It was just supposed to be a fun adventure. So I guess that's why I'm not too mad at it, because it did the adventure part really well, like I said. And also, I don't know how I feel about Moana being a demigod now. They never call her a demigod, but you can tell by the tattoo she got and how she can basically create currents by touching the water that she's basically a demigod now. I'm cool with her being a demigod at some point. I just feel like second movie was a little early to do that. I could see in the first movie setting it up for Moana to be the first wayfinder in like 1,000 years. Cool. Second movie comes up. At the very beginning of the movie, they say she's going to be the new leader of the wayfinding. I forget what they call it. Tao Tai. I think that's what it was. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Whatever, like the new leadership title they gave her at the beginning of the movie. Great. And then in the third movie, she could have gone to demigod. It's kind of like the Kung Fu Panda problem. The Kung Fu Panda problem was every movie he learned a new skill to then increase his Kung Fu mastery of everything until you run out of it and then he's just gotta retire. And now he's the spiritual guardian of the Valley of Peace. Where do you go from there? How are they gonna do better than demigod in the third movie? I don't know, I think that might have just been a little too much up front, but it was still a cool scene, so I'm not mad at it. I just kind of sit here and thinking, are they shooting themselves in the foot already making Moana a demigod? That seems like a little much to me. All right, so thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know in the comments, what did you guys think about Moana 2? Do you agree with me? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know. I'm very curious, and I will see you guys later. Bye! And big thank you to all of my Patreons. Without you, this channel wouldn't be what it is today. Thank you so much.